Hi guys, today we're gonna continue with reading the Trim Lamp story. It's the last part of it, and let's begin. Okay. This tour was her forest, and many times she raised her rifle at game that seemed broad, antlered, and big, but always some deep, a nearing instinct, perhaps of the huntress, perhaps of the woman made her told made her hold her fire and take up the trail again. Louis, Louis flourished in the laundry. Out of her 1850 per week, she paid 6 for her room and board. The rest went mainly for clothes. Her opportunities for bettering bettering her taste and manners were few compared with Nancy's. In steaming, in the steaming laundry, there was nothing but work and her thoughts, thoughts of the evening pleasures to come. Many costly and slowly fabrics passed under her iron, and it may be that her growing fondness for dress, was thus, thus transmitted to her through the conducting metal. When the day's work was over, then awaited her outside, her faithful shadow in whatever light she stood. Faithful, faithful. Sometimes he cast an honest and troubled glance in Louis' clothes that increased in conspicuity rather than in style. But this was no disloyalty. He deprecated the attention they called to her in the streets, and Louis was no less faithful to her chum. There was a law that Nancy should go with them on whatsoever all things they might take, then bore the extra burden heartily, heartily, and in good cheer. It might be said that Louis furnished the color. Nancy, Nancy the tone, and then the weight of the destruction-seeking trio. The escort in his neat but obviously ready-made suit. His ready-made tie and unfailing genial ready-made wit never startled or clashed, startled and or clashed. He was of that good kind that you are likely to forget while they are present, but remember distinctly after they are gone. To Nancy's superior taste, the flavor of these ready-made pleasures was sometimes a little bitter. But she was young, and young is a garment when it cannot be a garment. Gourmet, gourmet, gourmet. Dan is always wanting me to marry him right away. Lee told her once, why should I? I'm independent. I can do as I please with the money I earn, and he never would agree with for me to keep on working afterward. And say, Nancy, What do you want to stick to that old store for? What do you want to stick to the old store for and half dress yourself? I could get you a place in the laundry right now if you would come. It seems to me that you could afford to be a little less stuck up if you could make a good deal for more money. I don't think I'm stuck up, Louis, said Nancy, but I would rather live on a rations and stay where I am. I suppose I've got the habit. It's the chance that I want. I don't expect to be always behind a counter. I'm learning something new every day. I'm right up against refined and rich people all the time. Even if I do only wait on them. And I'm not missing any pointers that I see passing around. Caught your millionaire yet? Asked Louis, with her teasing laugh. I haven't selected one yet, answered Nancy. I've been looking them over. Godness, the idea of picking them of Godness, the idea of picking over them. Don't you ever let one get by you, Nancy, even if he's a few dollars shy. But of course, you're joking. Millionaires don't think about working girls like us. It might be better for them if they did, said Nancy, with cool wisdom. Some of us could teach them how to take care of their money. If one was to speak to me, laughed Louis, I know I would have a dog fit. That's because you don't know any. The only difference between swells and the other people is you have to watch them closer. Don't you think that red silk lining is just a little bit too bright for that coat, Louis? Louis looked at the plain, dull olive jacket of her friend. Well, no, I don't. But it may seem to be but it may seem so beside that faded looking thing you got on. This jacket, said Nancy, complacently, complacently, has exactly the cut and fit of one that Mrs. One Alston Fisher was wearing the other day. The material cost me 3.98. I suppose her cost about 100 more. Oh well, said Louis lightly. I don't strike it don't strike me as millionaire bait. Shouldn't wonder if I catch one before you do anyway. Truly, it would have taken a philosopher to decide upon the values of the theories held by the two friends. Louis, liking that certain pride and fasti 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 fastidiness that kept stores and desks filled with girls working for the barest living, thumped, thumped, thumped away gaily with her iron and the noisy and stifling laundry. Her wages supported her even beyond the point of comfort, so that her dress profited, profited until sometimes they cast a sidelong glance of impatience at the neat but in inelegant apparel of Dan. Then the then the constant, the immutable, the undeviating, undeviating sidelog glance. As for Nancy, her case was one of tens of thousands. Silk and jewels and laces and ornaments and the perfume and music of the fine world of good breeding and taste. These were made for women. They are equi- her equitable portion. Let her keep near them if they are a part of life to her, and if she will, she is not traitor to herself, as Esai was, for she keeps her bright right, bright birthright, and the pottage pottage she earns is often very scant. In this atmosphere Nancy belonged, and she throw drove drove in it and ate her frugal meals, and skimmed over her cheap dresses with determined and contented mind. She she already knew women, and she was studying man, the animal, both as to his habits and liability. Someday she would bring down the game that she wanted, but she promised herself it would be what seemed to her the biggest and the best, and nothing smaller. Thus, thus she kept her lamp trimmed and burning to receive the bridegroom when he should come. But another lesson she learned, perhaps unconsciously. Her standard of values began to shift and change. Sometimes the dollar mark grew blurred in her mind's eye and shaped itself into letters that spelled such words as truth and honor, and now and then just kindness. Let us make a likeness of one of who hunts the moose or elk in some mighty wood. He sees a little deal, mossy and embowered, where a rill tickles, bubbling to him, bubbling to him, of rest and comfort. At these times, the spare of Nimrod himself grows blunt. So Nancy wondered sometimes if Persian lamp was always quoted at its market value by the hearts that it covered. One Thursday evening, Nancy left the store and turned across 6th Avenue westward to the laundry. She was expected to go with Lou and Dan to a musical comedy. Dan was just coming out of the laundry when she arrived. There was a queer, strained look on his face. I thought I would drop around to see if they had heard from her, he said. Heard from who? Asked Nancy. Isn't Louis there? I thought you knew, said Dan. She hasn't been there or at the house where she lived since Monday. She moved all her things there. She told one of the girls in the laundry she might be going to Europe. Hasn't anybody seen her anywhere? Asked Nancy. Dan looked at her with his jaws set grimly, and steely gleam in his steady gray eyes. They told me in the laundry, he said har- harshly, harshly, that they saw her pass yesterday in an automobile with one of the millionaires, I suppose, that you and Louis were forever busy your brains about. For the first time, Nancy quailed before a man. Quailed. She laid her hand and trembled slightly on Dan's sleeve. You're not right to say such a thing to me, Dan, as if I had anything to do with it. I didn't mean it that way, said Dan, softening. He fumbled in his vest pocket. I've got the tickets for the show tonight, he said, with a gallant show of lightness. If you. Nancy admired pluck whenever she saw it. I will go with you then, she said. I will go with you then, she said. 3 months went by before Nancy saw Louis again. At the twilight one evening, the shop girl was hurrying home along the border of a little quiet park. She heard her name called and wailed about in time to catch Louis rushing into her arms. After the first embrace, they drew their hands back as serpents do, ready to attack or to charm, with, with 1,000 questions trembling on their swift tongues. And then Nancy noticed that prosperity prosperity had descended upon Louis, manifesting itself in costly furs, flashing gams, creations of the tailor's art. You little fool, cried Louis, loudly and affectionately. I see you're working in that store and shabby as ever. And how about that big catch you were going to make? Nothing done yet, I suppose. And then Louis looked and saw that something better than prosperity had descended upon Nancy. Something that shone brighter than gems in her eyes, and redder than a rose in her cheeks, and that danced like electricity anxious to be loosed from the tip of her tongue. Yes, I'm still in the store, said Nancy, but I'm going to leave it next week. I've made my catch, the biggest catch in the world. You won't mind now, Louis, will you? I'm going to be married to Dan. To Dan. He's my Dan now. Why, Louis? Around the corner of the park strolled one of those new crop, smooth-faced young policemen that are making their the force more endurable, at least to the eye. He saw a woman with an expensive fur coat and diamond-ringed hands crouching down against the iron fence of the park, sobbing turbulently, while a slender, plainly dressed work plainly dressed working girl leaned close, trying to console her. But the Gibsonian Gibsonian cop, being of the new order, passed on, pretending not to notice, for he was wise enough to know that these matters are beyond help. So far as the power he represents the concerned, though he rap the pavement with his night stick till the sound goes up to the farthermost stars. Okay, guys, thank you for you to listening to me, and see you tomorrow with the next story. Thank you. Bye.